Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be continuing with the food delivery application in Kotlin. So this is the second part of the video. In first part, we have displayed the restaurant list. If you haven't watched that video, then you can watch it first and you can find the link in the description section. So in this video, we'll display the menu item and add it into the cart. In my last video, I gave you an exercise to handle the click of the restaurant. If you haven't done, then no worry, we can do it now. So let's begin by adding our first click listener on the restaurant list. So first of all, we'll go to our adapter and we'll add an interface. I'm giving a name, restaurant list click listener. So you can give any name and we need to define a function in it. So I'm giving on item click. You can define with any name and it's taking the restaurant model as a input type. And now we'll simply implement this function in our main activity. Now we'll simply override its function, the function we declared there on item click. And here we simply need to open a new activity that will call menu activity. So let's create a separate activity because we haven't created a new activity for displaying the menu items. And we'll create an intent and then we'll launch a new activity from this click listener. Along with that, we'll pass this restaurant model object. So we'll use the put extra and we'll pass a key and then we'll pass this restaurant model because we already declared this restaurant model as the parsable. So in that case, we can pass it with the intent. So remember now this restaurant model key because you need to use the same key on the restaurant menu activity. So before that, let's create the layout. So we need to add a recycler view to display the menus. Along with this recycler view, I am adding a text view, means a button. I'll set a background to this text view so that it will convert into the button, and that button will be called as a checkout button. So once we adding some items from the menu in the cart, then we'll need a checkout button to place an order. So background, we haven't have any background, we haven't created. So I'm giving you, you can find the my GitHub link in the description section. So you can go to my GitHub and you can look for the food app. This food app is available in Java. So from there you can find the background inside the drawable folder. So this is button BZ and you can create a resource file inside our drawable, give any name. I'm giving the same name as button and then paste it here. So just to save your time, I'm doing this step. So it's just straightforward. Now we'll use this inside our restaurant menu activity. So first of all, we'll read the data which we pass from the main activity on the restaurant click. So how we can get the restaurant model? We'll use here intent dot get parsable extra, and we'll pass the same key what we use here. So we'll copy and paste exact name. If name is different, then this restaurant model will be null, and this data will be type of restaurant model. Now first thing, we'll use the name of restaurant on top in the action bar. And we'll set this action bar dot set title, and we'll set the restaurant name. Also under the title, we'll set the address. If you want to set something else, then you can set as a subtitle. So I'm setting up the address here. And also I am adding a back button so that we can enable by using the set display home as up enabled true. So now you can see the back button on top left corner. Now I am declaring a variable to hold the menu list. That menu list will find from the restaurant model. So we'll initialize it dot menus. So the menus is nullable. Let's make it nullable. Now we can create a separate function, or okay, first we need to define the ID of our restaurant activity. So we added the button, but we forgot to add the ID of it. So I'm adding the button ID as well as the RecyclerView ID. So without ID, we cannot read this layout. So this button we need to handle. So this is the checkout button. Once we add some items in a cart, then we need to click on this checkout button to go to the place an order activity. We'll create it later. And before that, we'll initialize our recycler view. So let me do it in the separate function. It's always good habit to create separate functions. We'll simply add the layout manager. So instead of linear layout manager, let's do it with the grid layout manager. This comma, and we'll use the 2 column. Now we need a adapter. Since we don't have any adapter, so let's create a new adapter now. Menu list adapter, and we'll do the same thing what we did for the restaurant list adapter, but there will be a difference. Restaurant list adapter was taking the restaurant model list. Now this will taking as the input of menu items. It is going to be the list of menus class. We have menus class, right? We defined it inside the restaurant model. So we'll use the same. Now simply just defining a bind function. This bind function will set the data from the menu object and set it on our layout. Inside on create view holder, we'll inflate our layout. We need to pass the layout here, but we haven't created any layout. So what we can do, we'll simply copy the same layout, restaurant menu, this one, and we can save some time because it's gonna look like same. So we can create here inside layout a new XML file. And we'll simply paste this here inside this layout file. So there are some error because we need some images. So we'll go back to the drawable folder now, and we'll see there are few images. We'll get this vector data and create it inside the drawable folder. So we'll use the same name, create it, and now we'll copy this vector data of that image. This is the minus. So these images will be using for adding and like removing items from the cart. Then we'll copy this another vector as well, paste it here, and that's it. We'll use that XML layout file here, comma parent comma false, and now we'll return this view to our view holder. Now we'll set this adapter to our recycler view. First we need to initialize it. So we can define it globally first. and we need to pass the list of menu items. So this one will copy all and pass it to this init RecyclerView function, and then we'll pass this data to our adapter. And now inside this adapter we'll read one by one layout. First we need the image view. So menu item image will display. We'll retrieve it. Now the menu item name, that is the text view type. Next is menu price. Similarly, we'll do the same for all the layouts. So one is add to cart button, another is add more layout. Add more layout is for plus minus, like adding more and removing from the cart, which have one image, one count and another image. And we need the count as well, so we can track how many items, how many menu items has been added to the cart. So one item can be added multiple times by adding the multiple quantity. So now we'll set the data to all our layouts. We'll set the price as well. But we need to append some text in front of this, like price dollar colon dollar space and the dollar and curly brackets. We need a add to cart button click handling, so let's handle it click. We need to handle add image minus click as well, image add one click as well. It's gonna be same. And now we'll simply use glide to get the image from the URL. Let's run it and see. So first thing, this is what we built in our last video, restaurant list. Now you can see, so let me click. Okay, it's not taking any click. We handle the click today. Let's take a look now to our main activity. So we added it and we did not handle the item click now. So we'll handle the first click. So we haven't got the click listener. Okay, we just did the half implementation of menu restaurant list click. Let's complete it first. And we'll pass this restaurant model. This need to define as val so that we can access it inside the onBindViewHolder function. And now inside the main activity it is showing some error, so we need to pass this here. Let's run it again and see. Let's click. There you go. So now we can see the restaurant name and we can see the address, we can see items, but there are some missing piece. It's not fully visible on the UI. It's hiding under the checkout button. So that's why you need to add padding. Now it's perfect. So you can see all the menu items with image, with add to cart button for other restaurant also, and name, address, checkout button. On the recycler view in the grid we can see menu items. That's great. Now we need to handle this add to cart button. So for that also we need to define an interface. So whenever we need to handle the recycler view click, any item click, then we need to define a interface and define some functions in it. So one is when we have the add to cart button. So first thing we need to handle that. Another function we need update item in the cart. So whenever we'll adding more quantity, then we need to update the quantity. So we need another function. We need one function to remove from the cart. So I'm defining 3 functions. We'll handle all the 3 functions one by one. And this click listener will take it as an input from the restaurant menu activity. And now we'll handle this add to cart button, image minus, image add one with this click listeners, what functions we have defined. Along with that, we need to update the data inside the menu object. So we already get the menus object and we'll adding the quantity to that object. Also we'll handling this add to cart button. So once the add to cart button is clicked, we need to hide it and we need to show the plus minus and the count. Same whenever user is pressing minus minus minus, in that case there is certain limit, like it cannot go beyond 0, like it cannot go to -1 -2. So we need to add a condition here. It is should always be greater than 0, and we'll update the quantity. So as soon as item is reaching 0, we need to make the add to cart button visible. So add more layout should be gone now from the UI and add to cart button should be visible. and add more will always increase the quantity but will limit it to the 10. So one user can add maximum 10 items in a cart. We'll call plus plus. Now we need to handle, so when item reach to 0, then we need to remove it from the list. So we'll maintain a checkout list, and we need to override all these three functions in our menu activity. Here first thing we need to declare a variable which will be handling our checkout items, or the items list in the cart, we can say. It need to be mutable type so that we can add and remove data from inside it. We'll initialize this list. If it is not initialized ever, we'll check. Otherwise it will throw null pointer exception. So whenever one item is added to the cart, we'll add this item menu object inside this list. Along with that, we need a integer type variable to show how many items we have in our cart. Will display next to our checkout button. So we'll update the checkout button text here. So we'll say checkout, and we'll display the total item in the cart inside the bracket. So that way we know how many items we have added inside our cart. So this is a good practice, like whoever is going to order something, they must know how many quantity of items they have added in cart before placing an order. Now this on option item selected is the back button on top left corner. So I'm simply closing the activity when user pressing the back button. Now it's time to handle this checkout button. So on this checkout button, first thing we'll check how many items we have in a cart. So if size is less than 0 or equal to 0, then we'll simply show a toast message to the user to ask them to add some item in the cart. Else we'll proceed to send user to the place new order or the next activity where user can review what is going to place. So we don't have any new activity. So first we'll create a new activity where user will land. On checkout button click. So I'm giving a name, place your order activity, and will land user on checkout button click here. So we'll pass this restaurant model on place your order activity as well. Maybe we'll use it there. I'm using start activity for result, but this is deprecated. Let me know in the comment section if you want the solution for this deprecated API. Okay, it's showing some error. Okay, we need to pass this here. Now we are good. Let's run and see. Splash. Let's select the restaurant. Click on add to cart. So you can see item updated. It's 0. It's crash. Oh my god. Let's see what we are missing here. First thing, we'll check out our logcat. There you go. So it's crashing on restaurant menu activity here. What could be missing? So we are removing item from the cart. There. Okay, so we are removing, but we are not adding that item back to the cart. So let's add this new updated item. So it's a small missing piece of code. Let's run it and see. Now let's select a restaurant, click on add button, quantity is updating. You can see 2 now, 3, 2, 1. So back, great. So you can see plus, minus, all is working fine, and checkout button have the quantity which is updating. When the quantity return to 0, add to cart button is coming back. Everything looks very good. So guys, that's all for today's video. In my next video, I'll show you how you can handle the place your order activity. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.